Hello and welcome to this panel discussion on how to help your radio club thrive. Radio club, group or society. We'll go through the thesaurus. I'm Jim G4AEH and the members of our panel will introduce themselves in a moment and each will give a short presentation on how their particular club is managing to thrive in 2025. Full disclosure, I'm a member of one of them, but I'm a member of three in total, actually, so there we are. Now, if you're involved in running a club and perhaps struggling to keep it afloat, hopefully you'll hear some very useful tips. Equally, if you have different secrets of success to our panellists, then we'll leave time at the end for your comments and questions. So, panel, over to you.
Thanks, Jim. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dav, Mike Zero Whiskey Delta Victor from Cray Valley Radio Society. And I'd like to talk about our club's approach to face-to-face training and how this helps attract new members and retain members. A little bit about our club. We're a well-established club. We'll be celebrating our 80th birthday next year. We're based in Eltham in southeast London, and we're also quite a big club with over 160 members at present. We're very active, both on the air and socially, but we believe our commitment to comprehensive face-to-face licence training has been a cornerstone of our success for the last couple of decades. We are one of a few clubs in the UK, we believe, who are still offering face-to-face organised training courses at all three licence levels. And we've been running these courses successfully now since 2006. And we achieve a very high pass rate for our candidates. Almost every course we run, particularly the foundation course, results in new members joining the club, which of course helps the club to thrive. Now, for the foundation license candidates, as an incentive to join, we offer a 50% discount on the first year of club membership, which obviously helps to encourage them to join as well. We believe that what makes our training stand out is our structured approach. And the extensive support we provide. So we typically run courses over a short number of weekends and with an exam on the last day. And crucially, for each candidate, we assign a one-to-one mentor who is an experienced radio ham from the club. This provides a friendly face for and a primary contact for any queries and helping new people with a familiar face if they eventually go on to join the club. Now, it has to be said that running courses with up to a dozen candidates at a time, which is what is our capacity, is a big commitment and a lot of work. For all the members involved, the syllabus changes often, which means there's usually work involved in updating our training materials. There's work involved in admin, publicity, organising everything. And in fact, because we offer the course at all three levels, it would actually be too much work for us to run all three license level courses every year. So what we do is we run two courses every year with a foundation course in the spring, and in the autumn we alternate between the intermediate and the full course. And so over every 2-year cycle we cover all three license levels. Our training doesn't stop with the exam, so we offer ongoing support to help new members getting on the air, setting up antennas, etc. And to conclude, running these courses makes our club thrive, obviously because we're bringing in new members, but also for our members who are involved, it's very rewarding. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding. The mentors, the training team, the invigilators and others, that's a good chunk of our club membership who get involved. And it's also satisfying for the entire club to welcome the new members and the new call signs every year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dav. Good evening, everybody. It's great to be invited to take part this evening on behalf of the Bracknell Amateur Radio Club. We were established back in 1971, and since then the club has had continuous activity in training, contesting, construction, and field events, but probably like many of your clubs as well. Over the years, membership's gone down and activity's gone down with it. So over the last few years, due to enthusiastic new members, and continued support from existing members, and with organisational links, which we'll come to in a minute, the club has more than doubled in size and now attracts several new members every month, which previously we were doing every year. So I'd like to mention just two of these organisations that you might like to investigate locally. The first is, for us, was the Crowthorne and Wokingham Men's Shed. Now, we heard of the Men's Shed, I didn't know it existed, when Norman, G8EYM, was featured in the local GB2RS News. That was on a Sunday morning. He was planning to demonstrate amateur radio to members of the Shed, and this was for British Science Week. We contacted Norman because we didn't have a British Science Week activity, and we offered to help. We provided an HF radio, an 88-foot doubler antenna. And that was just the start, really. We thought it would be a single event with the Men's Shed. But it was so successful that it quickly grew into something much bigger. With Bracknell ARC supporting a VE80 day, it was a good event this year, and also the launch of Men's Sheds on the Air. The objective being to extend the Shed's vital work, which is social inclusion, combating loneliness and isolation, and improving mental health across the airwaves and connecting up to what is around 1,000 sheds across the country. It's amazing there's 1,000 of them, and I'd never heard of them before. So via Norman, our local shed has already run a foundation course for its members. And that's resulted in first exam pass with others currently studying. The common objectives of communications, social inclusion, education and member engagement links radio clubs and these types of clubs together. The result being mutually beneficial, with many of the Shed's members joining as members of the radio club and vice versa. I joined the Men's Shed as well, which is really cool. And you can find out more about your local Men's Shed by going to the URL displayed on the slide, which is hopefully still up there. I'd just like to point Norman out. He's been trying to hide, but he's done all the work. He's sat in the far corner over there. So when you go out, do make sure you say hello. The other local organisation is the University of the Third Age. We call it the U3A. It's a national organisation, and they do have groups or clubs in most towns, and they offer a vast range of interests, mainly for part-time workers and retired local people. You probably already know of them or could even be a member of your local club. Bracknell Amateur Radio Club and the Wokingham U3A formed a U3A radio group, and they've built, having built a thriving relationship. Just like the Men's Shed, members are now joining each other's organisations. Now, what both the Men's Shed and the U3 have in common are the key ingredients for club growth. So they hold daytime meetings, which retired people like. Coming out in the dark at night isn't always great in the middle of winter. It needs no prior experience. You can just turn up if you're interested. And they're built around a sort of relaxed social activity. So it's not full-on straight into the technical aspect. And these have been particularly good and rewarding for our club. Just a final takeaway, though. Although we've got links with these organisations, our club's recent success is also about consistent high visibility and interaction at local events, so local fetes, guides, obviously, and scouts, and things like POTA, where you get a lot of the public coming up to meet you. In addition to regularly maintained websites and social media. I'll mention social media if we get some questions later, but it's all led to increased membership, improved retention, and much more activity on the radio. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. How do you follow that, folks? Now to a slightly different accent from across the Irish Sea to Northern Ireland. My name is Ian Evans, Golf India 0 Alpha Zulu Bravo, and I belong to the Mid-Ulster Amateur Radio Club. Fantastic club. It's located And this is going to be a plug for Northern Ireland. It's located very close to the centre of the province, just south of Lough Neagh, near a crisp factory called Tandragee. Now, if you haven't tasted Tandragee crisps, you should. And I see quite a few people in the audience who have tasted Tandragee crisps. My talk is what I actually do with the Mid-Ulster Club. I'm a committee member. We have a very active committee, and I've been in the committee now 3 years. My first year of committee was a very easy year. Didn't do anything at all. Second year, I suddenly discovered you have to do work in the committee. And part of it is actually to make the club thrive. And how do we do that? We actually do it by using social media and also media outlets of any kind. I see people in the audience here actually dialed into our on-the-air nights during the lockdown. And those talks and presentations went down a storm. There's quite a few people nodding their heads here. There was actually dial-ins from Sweden, US of A, all over the world. One of the presentations you'll actually get an opportunity to see tomorrow, and that's by George, and he did a presentation on coax and connectors. It's well worth a trip to. It actually produced 12,620 hits on YouTube. I don't think we got any money from it, so we'll have to investigate that, but it actually is quite an astounding amount of hits on media. How did that come about? Well, we have very good expertise in the club, and you all will have the same people in your clubs. Young people, old people, middle-aged people, of all walks of life who are able to put YouTube videos together and add it onto it. That transpired then that we actually got funding from various organisations, one in particular being the lottery. And that funding actually got us equipment. You'll see it in the slides there, like radio equipment, but our mobile shack. And we wanted actually to say to the organisations, thank you, this is your money, this is how we spent it. And the president, who's not with us today, is over in Northern Ireland. And Davy, I hope you're eating grapes and feeling a lot better. But I really want to congratulate him because he then contacted media outlets, and it was the BBC sent a reporter to one of our, Colin, you mentioned those events that you do outside, and they did a fantastic stream of what we spent our money on, what the club was doing, what amateur radio was about, and very much so how people got out of it. So you'll see a chap there on the screen called Brian. And Brian is an amazing lad. He's got a wheelchair which he never gets out of, but he can get anywhere in it. There's funny stories to tell about Brian of whenever he's at events, how he gets his wheelchair over, let's say, obstacles. But anyway, his interview was absolutely amazing. It produced so many feedback emails from us, and one in particular was another disabled person who actually hadn't heard of amateur radio but wanted to find out more about it and actually join the club. But unfortunately, they're in your land, they're not in our land, so we had to guide them to a local club, or a hope to, from there. I'm a committee member, as I say, but I'm not the only committee member. There's lots and lots of committee members who do sterling work. Our media opened the eyes of the club, and it would be a great opportunity for any club to get involved with media. Why does it do that? Well, it brings you out of your shell, because you're plumped in front of someone, not with the amount of equipment that we see in this room here, but actually with a mobile phone or with a GoPro, and they'll interview you, and they'll ask you what do you think amateur radio is about. You'll maybe tell them a story or two. That, for us, went on to the radio. It was a voice presentation broadcast of about 5 minutes. And then at tea time, there was actually a longer shot on national radio. Now, that's embarrassing when people say in the shop to you, I seen you on TV tonight. But, you know, it's amazing what people pick up and how they remember you. I don't know if it's a beard or if it's a bald head or what it is, but they do remember you. And it introduces the club to thrive. We have links with Queen's University. Colin and the other speakers mentioned training. We've done training with Queen's, and that has been on their Facebook page, etc., etc. We're happy to chat to you about what things work for us the best. WhatsApp is invaluable because lots and lots of people use WhatsApp nowadays. The only disadvantage of WhatsApp is remember to switch it off when you go to bed because it really pings all night if you've got an interesting topic that members will talk about. Mr. Chairman, I am dribbling on. It's now 5:15, but I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts. Our aims in the club were to promote, educate and enjoy, and social media and media in general really does open those aims for us and objectives. It is nerve-wracking, but you will get through it, and we have, and we look forward to the next challenge that media will produce for us. It's a friend, it's not an enemy, and it can actually help clubs in many other ways, perhaps with funding or all those things that you aspire to. Thank you for listening to me. Thanks for coming today. I don't see too many empty seats, and it's amazing that you're all intensely interested in it. I'm going to hand on now to Andy, our final speaker. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Andy, M0IXY. I'm the secretary of the Thames Amateur Radio Group. The club formed from a concept in 2010. 2011 it was up and running, and our capture area was mainly on Canvey Island, which is where we were based until recently. And the club sort of trundled along between 45 and about 55 members for until the pandemic hit. During the pandemic, the club obviously couldn't meet, so we went online. We made membership free for the duration, and we did online club evenings, which were a great success. But after the pandemic, we found we had a dwindling membership, and in true to tell, the membership had started dwindling before the pandemic, but it was getting down to critically low numbers, and we decided, okay, we've got to have a change of tack. And we decided to big up our public events. So in the last year, we've done something like 7 public events, high profile, nice eye candy. If you have a look at the slide there, you'll see the Lancaster bomber apparently flying over my QO100 setup, and also our HF station. And this gave us good exposure to the public. It has resulted in an increase in membership, and it's also introduced us to youth groups who have engaged with us, and we have put training courses on for them, and we've created 11 new foundation licensees this year. But we always seek to put ourselves, for instance, on the committee at the Thames Amateur Radio Group. We have a couple of military radio enthusiasts. Myself is one, and also our vice chair, M0 LFX, and we target military shows because a lot of military vehicle owners have radio equipment in it that is actually serviceable and functional, but they don't have licenses. So we target pulling those people in and say, look, you know, do you realise that you could legally operate on this frequency and that frequency and that frequency, and we'll help to get you qualified. And also engaging with youth groups, so attending their events and grabbing the interest young, because what we need is younger members. The committee is of a certain age. We aren't getting any younger, and we need a younger membership. We recently took the decision to move from Canvey Island because the sort of locus of our membership had changed from just being on Canvey Island. But sadly, a lot have become silent keys or no longer active in the hobby, and our membership had sort of drifted north in Essex. So we're now based at Wickford on an industrial estate that maybe isn't too inspiring, but it has excellent internet connectivity and fantastic training room facilities, and we stream our club nights from there, which has been a great success. You know, we can guarantee on a particular club night, if I've got the publicity out, we pull in something like 3, 4, even 5 or 6 people from out of area partaking in our club night. And because we've got the really good internet connectivity, it's a really positive experience. And it's engaging with others than the traditional field, because since the pandemic thing, you know, we're looking at a completely different landscape, and we have to engage with other groups, maybe consider things that we hadn't considered, and I have to say that led to some members leaving because it wasn't traditional. But you know, the hobby is constantly evolving, and we have to change with it. So our public events is our flagship. We're already planning next year something like 7 or 8 events, and we have new members in the pipeline who've been introduced to amateur radio through our public-facing public events. The events aren't really about getting contacts, lots and lots of contacts. It's about explaining what the equipment is and what you can do with it. So that's the approach the Thames Amateur Radio Group have taken. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Plenty to discuss there. Thank you all. Plenty to discuss there. I'm glad you brought up young people, because I noticed we've got several in the audience. And actually, if you've got something to tell us later when we throw it open about what will keep you in a radio club and attract you to a radio club, we'd love to hear from you. But before we get down to the tools and the specifics of your respective successes, can we get this one out of the way? We've probably all heard stories about people turning up at their local radio club and complaining that because they haven't got the knowledge, they've been humiliated or they've been totally ignored. That's got to be a cardinal sin, isn't it? So how do you get around that sort of problem? Andrew?
We have a register and a gatekeeper on the register, and that person goes out of the way to steer. Oh, here's the secretary. If you're interested in training, he's the guy to talk to. Here's the tea and coffee, you know, and and not normally there are enough people in the room for everybody is personally introduced to every member.
How about you, Colin? I guess.
Yeah, very similar actually. We have a sort of front of house desk, as it were. So as people walk in, the desk is in their way, so they have to sign in. And then we make a point of any visitors, just public visitors, people that have seen us on Facebook, or any. We will get hams that haven't operated for years. They've heard about us on the internet and they'll come in again. So we make sure we ask them about their interests. And during our introduction to our meeting, we will point those new people out. And that way people can approach them and speak to them, and they know something about their interests to begin with. But it's very important that we did get reports in the past where people had come in, sat at the back, and then they left and they hadn't spoken to anybody.
Yeah.
So we changed that.
That must not happen. Yeah. You were talking about COVID drop off. I think some of you also mentioned COVID. I mean, the RSGB during COVID did a hell of a lot of work because there were so many people coming back. They were publicising it all over the place. Do you think that what the RSGB was doing had a hand in your revival after post-COVID or during COVID?
Yes, we because during that period I wasn't the secretary then. I was the Beyond Exams person, and I actually put on specific presentations for Beyond Exams people. So that really pulled people in. You could see it. You got between five and 10 extra people on those presentations. Sadly, it died off about 2022, but throughout the pandemic period, when the club couldn't meet, it was a definite pull factor.
Yeah. And Dav, talking of exams, of course, you've got this approach to exams, which must take a lot of work, a lot of people.
Yes. I mean, it is a big effort for the club, and because it's structured, we do it twice a year. We know exactly when in the calendar it's going to happen. That does help, and that's obviously the training, and we also get involved with the CW Ops Academy to do CW training as well. It's not sort of CW that training for us to do. We get involved in organising, chaperoning people onto the CW Ops Academy, and that happens with on a cadence of 3 times a year. So we it's all sort of timetabled and structured, so we know when to expect the workload, we can predict things that way.
You've got a playground.
Oh, you've heard about the playground, yes. So this is to do with the CW, because we have a lot of interest in CW in our club, but some people are key shy. They don't want to get on the air until they reach some sufficient sort of speed or proficiency. But so what we've decided to do is offer a sort of once a month playground that is a combination of Zoom and local on-air net on 2 meters, and it's with other local club members who know each other. So if they make mistakes, it's not a big deal. If you don't understand something, you can just ask over the Zoom and get an answer that way. And it's been quite successful.
You all do some kind of license training, do you?
Yeah.
How do you attract people to that? How do you find them?
It's the advantage, or the unintentional advantage, of the media, that we do, because Northern Ireland is a small place. Everybody knows everybody. Well, almost everybody.
There's only 2 million people there.
Yeah, there's only. But we kind of have an uncle or an aunt that's married to somebody that's married to somebody that's married to somebody.
Yeah.
But our club gets contacts from amazing sources, like. You mentioned scouts and young people that are in the audience here. Those are the usual ones that you get each year. But you also get, our exposure to agricultural societies that we visit as well. Open days. We do a session at Navan Fort, which is the location of where the High Kings of Ulster were crowned. So you get contacts from all those different places that Colin and Andy and Dafydd has mentioned here, and those things pay off. Like our big contact with the university, Queen's University of Belfast, was fantastic, because we had 12 from memory youngsters who were interested from the electronics department there. Now it's nerve-wracking for amateurs to teach people of that calibre. But let me assure you, the stuff that we are doing, they just lap it up. Absolutely lap it up. And they enjoy it. And just come back to your original question, which is all linked together. How do you make them feel at home whenever they come to the meetings? Well, the way to anybody's heart is through their stomach. Isn't that a true saying? On our club meeting, we have them on the WhatsApp group, so everybody's familiar with who's in the WhatsApp. But we have a luncheon at the club meeting, and if they want to participate, they come, and quite a few do. The gravy boat is always running over, and it's once a month. It's a commitment. They don't do it every month, but we come, we enjoy it, and we talk to the people. That then breaks down the barriers, breaks down the ice between new members that all the clubs here, all the speakers feel. So it sounds a lot of work, but you want to make it enjoyable. And once you make it enjoyable, then it's a success.
Well, you've got to expect, if you go on the committee, you've got to expect to do the work, haven't you?
Yeah, certainly do.
Now, you had a serendipitous relationship with the press or the media. BBC turned up at your place. Anybody else on here had contact with, been able to find their way into the media and impress them? It's a hard job. Do you have publicity officers or anything like that?
Yeah, we've got a publicity officer, and he does a fantastic job, to be honest. Definitely recommend any club that doesn't have a dedicated publicity officer to find someone to do that for you, because it's a fantastic opportunity to get the word out to the club. I can't praise him highly enough. And in terms of local media, we have a local magazine, and we featured in that. And our publicity officer is talking about possibly getting a feature in before the next foundation course, so that we can attract local people who are not radio amateurs, and introduce them to the hobby for the first time, which would be a brilliant thing to do.
Okay. Can I, at this point, bring in David Palmer? David is running the streaming here, and he, of course, does the webinar on a Monday night. Now, David, you've got something to contribute to this, haven't you?
Forgive me for coming in now. As you can see, I'm a volunteer for the RSGB, like many others. As Jim said, we do the live streaming. The reason I'd like to contribute here, because it's something that really is important to me and close to my heart. I'm the chairman of the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club. And I don't want to sound arrogant here or bragging, but we are very fortunate to have a very strong club. But we just exceeded 262 people. We had 3 join the other night. So we are very strong, but it's not been without its challenges. And I just want to share with you one in particular thing, actually, that was really helped us get out of COVID. I noticed that's one thing in common with everybody else who's been there talking about the challenges of post-COVID, and some of you may be in the same thing with your club. It was a very simple idea. I can't remember who told me, it wasn't my idea. But the idea meant that on a Wednesday night, we found people were coming back after COVID. They were quite nervous about seeing people. We understand, and we remember those times, don't we? But the way to get people to meet each other, and many of them, as people said as well, are ones who have joined the hobby over COVID because of the wonderful work that the RSGB did to put everything online so that people could do and enjoy an indoor hobby. But the simple thing I'm going to just leave you with is that we have a show and share table. And any of you can do this. So you sit at the table, I've got a couple of notices on there, and it says show and share. And the only deal is that anybody can bring anything they want that's radio or electronics related, put it on there for free, and others take it away. Now I'm sure you all think, well, that's not particularly special and won't strengthen your membership, but actually it has. Because not only are we recycling and upcycling things, but people have got to know each other through that. And that was the fascinating and interesting thing. When I saw people come who joined the hobby, joined the club remotely, we had a very strong online presence, which is probably how we survived the pandemic. But to get people to actually talk to each other again and get to know each other, that was a struggle. And that's what that did, because someone would put something down, a piece of equipment, a circuit board or something like that, and someone else would see them do it, so just ask about it. And before I could see people talking to each other. We get 50 or 60 people now on a Wednesday night, but we were getting 20 or 30 people after COVID, having been a very strong club with 130 members before COVID. So you could tell the effect, and I just couldn't think how to get people together again. So if that's any help to any of you, a show and share table, try it. Put a couple of pieces of paper on, print it on there that says, it's just got to be free, but it's not the equipment and things really that's the game and the reward. It's the fact that people get to talk to each other and meet each other. We've found it really works well. Thanks for the time.
To attract people into the hobby, of course, they end up having to buy equipment, which, I mean, it's a lot cheaper in real terms than it was when I started 80 years ago. But still, it's still difficult for some people to be able to afford it. Do you have, any of you have club shacks where people can come along and operate equipment if they haven't got anything at home, or some kind of lend? I mean, I've got 2 rigs out at the moment, 2 foundation licenses to help them along. Any schemes like that?
Yeah, in Cray Valley, we've got a well-equipped club shack where members can come along and use it as long as nobody else is using it. We share it with the scouts, so we have to make sure the scouts aren't doing anything at the time. And also, we've got some loan equipment, and once a year we also do a surplus sale, so where new members can potentially buy old equipment, and equipment changes hands at a much lower cost that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We don't have a shack. We're not lucky enough to have a shack yet. We're working that way. But we do have loan equipment, and a lot of it is donated by Silent Keys, unfortunately. But a lot of people, when they start, they'll buy the Baofeng, handheld, and they grow out of it, and they donate it to the club. So we now have a stored amount of kit that's available, especially to the younger M7s and things that are coming along and need that first radio. They can just borrow it for as long as they need it.
Ian?
The story this begins with is the word Amazon, because we used to have a really, really great shack, but Amazon moved into the site that we were. So they built a very great big warehouse over the shack. But anyway, we still survive. We're 60 years now in October, but we have moved to a mobile shack, Jim, which is interesting because the person allocated to look after the equipment brings that equipment to the mobile shack. And you saw on the slide, you saw Brian using the equipment and others as well. But our schemes, we have amateurs in the club who do the loan scheme that you've heard here as well. But I think the big thing is people enjoy taking something out, but they're scared of breaking it. So they're always looking at advice, and this is where the sell and the buys on the WhatsApp is always a good source of stuff. People will say, I've got £30, I've got £300, what would you recommend? And the amount of advice that I have got, and I'm in amateur radio a year or two, is amazing on the equipment, because I think, as somebody mentioned, I saw a 101 in some of your club slides there. 101s are scarce now, so you need the knowledge of that new equipment. Andy?
We have a pool of loan equipment. Sadly, it's underused because most of the membership proceed down the road of wanting their own equipment. We used to have in our previous venue around 2015, we actually had a Radio Shack, but we found it was underused. So,
because these days with the new license conditions where people can come in and be supervised without a license, that's brilliant if you've got a shack.
But in the new location, because it's in a light industrial estate, we've got a hell of a lot of noise on HF. So one of the things we have done is a remote operation of my equipment on the big 200-inch TV screen that we've got in the training room. And we've done that, and it was a success. So the plan is to introduce more of that into the club evenings.
Okay, so time's getting on. So perhaps I should throw it open now. If anybody's got any questions, or if you've got some way of attracting people to your club that you'd like to tell us about, please do. Start down there.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter, MI5JYK. I've had the pleasure and privilege of actually working with Ian with the club. I used to been regional manager for a couple of times, the same as Philip at the back for Northern Ireland, and Mid Ulster are one of the most proactive clubs A lot of clubs back home in Northern Ireland could learn an awful lot from them. They really are, and the workload that they put in is absolutely tremendous. Hopefully Ian the check will be in the post.
Is it a £17 note or a £19 note?
Make it a £21 note and we'll be all right. But the other thing is, I'm also a member of my local men's shed. And we have a few amateurs, they're M7s, foundation licensees. They get into radio via motorcycles and, with bike stuff. They're looking at maybe at some point running foundation courses. And I'm trying to source a few instructors. So the men's shed working with amateur radio is an absolutely brilliant avenue. And we also have a women's shed in there as well. And they have also started to take a little bit of an interest. So hopefully in the new year, we're going to be getting things kicked off and probably a shack. At the moment, we've no equipment in the shed. But if you go to where our allotments are and have a very keen eye, you will notice that there is a 20-metre and 10-metre ground-mounted verticals made on bamboo, camouflaged. And sometimes an Audi 817 appears in the little gardening hut over the summer to play radio. So it is a wonderful opportunity to grow the hobby.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter.
Could I
yes,
add
Colin?
something to that? Yes, with the men's shed, I mean, obviously, it's mainly men that are at the men's shed, but the University of the Third Age, unfortunately, most of us men don't last quite as long, and they are around 65-70% women in the local University of the Third Ages. So if you do have a local U3A, it's worth popping in, just speaking to them. There is a link to the RSGB, because they do have an amateur radio subject advisor. So if you do go to your local U3A, they can get in contact with the subject advisor and get advice on how to hold those meetings.
Thank you. Maggie.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Maggie Atkinson. I'm M7 LTF, and I'm his wife. I'll tell you how many rooms in my house I can get into if you give me half an hour. I think attracting females into the hobby is an important one. What Andrew didn't mention is that some of our new M7s have arrived because they got their M7s through one of the amazingly high-quality online platforms that enables you to get an M7. And they've all realised that they didn't know what the hell to do with a piece of kit, so they came to us. And we've taught them the practical stuff, and they're now members. But our largest group are actually air cadets. Look for Radcom in December, there'll be an article. 10 brand new M7s through an air cadet squadron, all of whom were volunteers. They do radio comms as part of their badge system, but we got them through their M7s, and half of them were girls. And all of them are under 18. So if you're really looking for that sort of membership, the wings, your county wing of cadet squadrons would welcome you with open arms if you went in and offered bespoke training. Make sure somebody is DBS certified. 4 of our 6 trainers are DBS certified at TARG. So, but yeah, fascinating stuff. I've written down and written down and written down. But the other organisation to talk to is the WI. Seriously, they are one of the statutorily consulted bodies when the government is putting through legislation on family matters and community. You can't get away without talking to the WI. And they are a remarkable body of women.
Thank you, Maggie. That's very useful. Anybody else? Graham,
G4NMD. Firstly, thank you to Cray Valley, one of our foundation members who I've been trying to encourage for a time but couldn't get on with online, went over to your face-to-face recently and became a TUI. So thank you for that. But the other thing about loan is not just the transmitting and receiving gear. It's often things like books or test gear and things like that. So we've started a library of that in our club. We have a librarian who sort of says, who's got bits of kit that they're prepared to loan out, and we had loads of kit donated and components donated. So we've got that kind of library now and that's a good way of. And then if you have somebody who mentors them to use it, that's the thing.
Right, Roy, M0WTP. Question probably for the whole of the committee or those up there. I've been online a number of times on YouTube and coming back to the social media where it's been interactive, so you've been able to put in questions. Has anyone experienced that with amateur radio?
Probably not.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think our experience of it, there's that many outlets for social media. If you're coming back into it now again, I'll give you one example. X, which is the now called Blue Sky, isn't it?
No, it's X, but Blue Sky is the old Twitter.
The old Twitter. So you've got so many changes there. It's careful manipulation of all that. I think what we find from our experience of it in the Mid-Ulster is we stick to one or two different platforms, and that is the best way to manage it and to improve it from there. I'm getting signals, so I'm handing back to Jim.
Well, I just hold time for one more question. And gentleman with the red lanyard.
Thank you. Daniel, M7IBX. I'm a member of the Bracknell Amateur Radio Club. I qualified in April of this year, so I'm M7. Just getting back to the club equipment, but also the fact that Bracknell's very active with POTA activations. It not only gets us out into the field, but it's a great way for new qualifiers to get on the air without having to go through the expense of buying equipment. And also, it's really, really helpful when there's people around you who can help you out when you get stuck with what you need to say to people during a QSO. So it's a great way to get the new members, the newly qualified, on the air, even though they may not have the shack set up at home. I'm, of course, penniless now, but back then, it was a lot easier.
I saw on the website, you should be there today, shouldn't you? You've got an activation today. Well, look, our time is up. The stream is coming to an end. I just want to, would you please give a warm applause for our panel?